All right. Hello, everyone. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today, for this video, we're going to be going over exponents and scientific notation. We had this in class today. I'm also going to cover a little bit of the meaning of undefined in an expression or in an equation, when to watch out for that. It is very interesting. But some very important information just to review first is some of the rules with exponents. So up on the screen, I have important information. Okay, so very important information. First off, we have the identity rule. Okay, so this is the identity rule. Identity rule. Oopsies. For exponents. Okay. So what does that mean? It means that any exponent to the 1 or to the power of 1 will be the same as that base. So 5 to the 1 equals 5, x to the 1 equals x. They are interchangeable. There is that equal sign there. That means that they mean the exact same thing. So it is totally possible. I mean, this you wouldn't see this, but like 5 to the 1 equals, or 5 to the 1 plus 2 to the 1 equals 7 to the 1. Okay, I mean, you wouldn't normally see that written out that way, but it does kind of get the point across that having that 1 power there, it's there whether it's written or not. It can be totally interchangeable. Okay, the next thing to kind of go over is another important exponent rule, one that I often see people get wrong, and you want to make sure that you know this to heart. So it's the zero rule in exponents. And what that zero rule is that anything to the power of 0 equals 1, except for 0. Okay, so anything to the power of 0 is 1. We'll write that with a variable. So anything to the power of 0 equals 1. Okay, but not 0. 0 to the 0 is undefined. Oops. Okay, not 0, not 0. Okay, the next rule, we reviewed this in class, but I'll go over it quickly. So it's the multiplication rule for exponents. What the multiplication rule is you have two exponents with the same base and the powers are different, or well, it doesn't really matter what the powers are. You will add them if you're multiplying. Okay, so in this example, I have 3 squared plus 3 cubed, or 3 to the power of 2 and 3 to the power of 3, and that equals 3 to the power of 2 plus 3, or 3 to the 5th. Okay, now that's the multiplication rule. I'll just put that down because I'll put these notes up on our Moodle class. Now the next one is the division rule, which is just the inverse of multiplication. Okay, so if you are dividing two exponents and they have the same base, then you subtract the powers. Okay, division rule. And lastly, I just wanted to go over this one more time. It is negative exponents. Okay, what does that actually look like? What does that really mean? Remember, when you have a negative exponent, just think of it as that negative sign. Going back to that other video, negative is a direction, and in this case, it is a direction downward. It is putting that exponent below the number 1. And here later this week, I will be getting my stylist, so I will be able to do some videos using like a drawing board, so I don't have to type all of this out in Word. So something like that. So it pushed it down below the 1, the exponent or the power of the exponent is now positive, that it, since it is below the 1. So something like this is equal to 1 over 25, or 1 over 5 times 5, and then 1 over 25. Okay, so just wanted to touch base on all of those before we start to move on. So for what value of x is the expression undefined? What does that really mean? It means that the expression or the equation is kind of, there's a point, there's a single point where it breaks the rules, okay? Now remember what a variable is, it's a placeholder in line. Well, what if the person that shows up is definitely not the person, or if there's nobody that shows up? How about that? That there's no one that shows up and that other person leaves, so there's just this blank spot in the line. It won't work, okay? So there is a point where x equals something, okay? There's a point where x equals something where the denominator is 0. That's what you're looking for, is where the denominator is 0. There's a point where x equals something where the denominator is 0. So let's look at this equation here. I'm actually going to bring this one down so we have some more space to work with it. So we have x squared plus 4, all of that to the second power, being multiplied by x cubed plus 8, all of that to the negative 3 power. Now, I want you to take a note here, or look at this. Denominator, okay? Now, we were reviewing that in the vocabulary. That's a good math vocabulary word to have down. Denominator means that bottom part of that fraction, right? So, what is this negative 3 going to do to this group right here? Okay, I'll finish reading. So all of that times x to the 4th plus 16 to the 4th power. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to rewrite this problem with this where it should be, where the exponent is a positive. Now remember, that's a negative exponent right now, but when I rewrite this, okay, it will look something like this. X squared plus, x squared plus 4 to the second power. Now, remember that that one group with the negative exponent is going to get pushed down below. So I'm going to skip this group. This is the special one. Okay, maybe I can give it a cool shadow effect. Okay, that's the special group right there that we need to look closer at. All of this is being multiplied by x to the 4th. Oh dang. X to the 4th plus 16, all of that to the 4th. And after I'm done writing this, I'll fill you in. All of that stuff that I wrote doesn't really mean anything, because what's really important is what is below it. Let's see, can I make this? I'll just go like this, something like that. Can I mess with the spacing a little bit? Nah, just to save us. Oh, there it is. I know how to do it now. Just to save us a little bit. Oh, that pushes it farther away. Line spacing options. Let's just go with 0. What? Oh, 0. Yeah, that didn't change anything. Anyways, so what is below this? That'll do for now. Okay, what is below this? That is where the x to the 3rd plus 8 and all of that to the 3rd. Okay, so that denominator is 0, where it's undefined is 0. That's what all that we're looking for. For what value of x is the expression is undefined? This is where we're going to find that because that's in the denominator. So when does this bottom equal 0? When does the bottom equal 0? So we have x cubed plus 8. So x cubed, I feel like each thing is getting smaller now. It is. Interesting. Ah, that's because of this. So, oh my goodness, I'm just messing up left and right. So x cubed plus 8 equals 0. Let's just set that equal to 0. And now we have to solve. So what is the cube root of 8? Or in other words, x times x times x equals 8. And I promise you it's a small number. This is going to be really nice when I have my stylus. Okay. I know it looks weird, but so think, what is 3 times 3 times 3? It's more than So think, what times what equals 8? 3 times 3 times 3, that's 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27. No, so it has to be less than 3, and we know it's more than 1, so through process of elimination, x has to be 2. But if we just plug a 2 in there, so 2 times 2 times 2, that's equal to 8. We need it to be negative 8. So all it is negative 2. So negative 2 times a negative 2 times a negative 2 equals negative 8. Negative 8 plus 8 is 0. Our denominator becomes 0. So when x is equal to negative 2, then the denominator is 0. Thus, the expression is undefined. Okay. Some exclamation points. Oh, geez. There. So that's important right there. You can kind of see that process. So what I did is I pushed everything down. I rearranged my problem so I can see the problem better. Okay. When does the bottom equal 0? That's what we figured out. So x to the third plus 8 equals 0. Notice how we didn't even care about this. That part right there to the third power is just there to confuse you. All of this stuff is just clutter. All we care about when determining if something is undefined is that denominator. Okay. When does the denominator equal 0? Okay, let's move on. Which of the following expressions is equivalent to 3x squared plus 3x plus 2 minus 2 times x squared minus 5x minus 2? So what we have here, this is really just going to be a simplification problem. What we want to do is just clean this up a little bit, kind of push things together where it's not as cluttered. So the very first thing I want to do, and our next problem will have some of it too, but we want to distribute this 2. What does that mean? We want to pass this 2 along to everything inside of this parentheses, okay? So this 2 will go to the x squared, this 2 will go over here, this 2 will go over to that over there, okay? So let's take a better look at this. We'll copy all of this down first. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually distribute the negative 2 through. So I'm taking everything times a negative 2 inside of that parentheses. So we have a negative 2x squared minus, or is it a minus? So we have a minus 5x, but a negative 2 times a minus 5 or a negative 5 is going to be a plus 10, right? 2 times 5 is 10. Those minus signs cancel out. So we have a plus 10x, and now a negative 2 times a negative 2 is a positive 4. Okay. So I've cleaned this all up, or it doesn't look like I have, but in fact, I've made it so we can clean this whole thing up, because now we can get rid of this parentheses, and we can start to push everything together. So I'm just going to copy this all down. I'm getting rid of these parentheses. What I recommend is you start with the piece of the expression with the highest power. So we have 3x squared and a minus 2x squared. So you have 3x squareds. So think you have 3 of something, and I'm taking away 2 of something. So all you are left with is 1 of something, right? 3 minus 2 is 1, but we don't even have to write that 1. It's implied. So it's just 3, or it's just x squared. The thing with the second power, that also is all we have left. So now what's 3x plus 10x? So you have 3 of something plus 10 of something. You have 13 of that item. Okay. And then last piece, plus 2 and a plus 4. You are left with a plus 6. And that is the simplified version. So this right here, so I will underline this and I will make it red. That has the same meaning as this beginning expression. Okay, so this right here, x squared plus 3 or plus 13x plus 6 means, it just means the same thing. It is equivalent. This is one of another vocabulary word. I would just highly suggest that you have this word down. It means roughly equal to. Okay? The inner math nerd in me has problems with that, where I could go on and deep into it, but it's not necessary. Just for your sake, it means that it is roughly equal to. So this equation here will do the same work. It will do the same thing as this. Okay? This is an ugly version. This is a pretty version. Okay, so we've cleaned it up. So we have another problem kind of similar to that. So it's going to be a distribution simplification review, and this will be the last bit of our video today. So let's take a look at this. So we have brackets. That's the first time we've come across one of those in one of our videos. But that just means, remember, it's just all about grouping. So the very first thing we want to look at, everything in this parentheses, we can't really mess with it. Okay, there's nothing for us to do. We can't simplify it or anything. But over here, we have another situation where there's this number outside of the parentheses, and we can actually distribute this through. Okay, so let's do that. Let's just focus on this top part, and we'll have to remember that we have everything is being divided by 4x, but we'll come back to that. So we're just focusing on this right now. So let's distribute a negative 2 through the parentheses. So you multiply everything by a negative 2 inside of that parentheses afterwards. Okay? So we are left with a 6x squared plus 4. Oh no. So we are left with a 6x squared plus 4. I'm just going to copy all of this down. And we don't need those parentheses. Now, a negative 2 times a 2 is a negative 4. That looks weird. I want to make it look like a minus 4. So we have a negative 4 or a minus 4. Now, a negative 2 times a negative 3. Right. those negative signs are going to cancel. So it turns into a plus 6x squared. So what is a 6x squared plus 6x squared? It is 12x squared. You just add those beginning numbers are called the coefficients. You just add them together. 6x or 12x squared, so 6x squared plus 6x squared is 12x squared. Now, plus 4 and a minus 4, what happens there? Plus 4 and a minus 4, they cancel out. It just goes to 0. We don't even have to worry about it. So all of that, remember that's just the top part of our equation, but all of that is being divided by 4x. Okay, now we can go a little bit farther than this. Okay, let's pull everything, let's split it up into two separate pieces. So we have 12 divided by 4 times x squared, oh boy, x squared divided by 4. It didn't work. Still didn't work. Third time's a charm. Okay, all of that x squared divided by x. See how I split these two pieces up, and I hope it helps you see what we can do here. What's 12 divided by 4? You know that. 12 divided by 4, that is 3. So 3 times. Now x squared divided by x. Remember those powers. Remember the power rule that we talked about way up top here. Okay? The division rule. So you subtract, remember? Subtract the powers to just clean it up. So x squared, what power does this x have down here? Right. This x has the power of 1. So x squared divided by x to the 1 power, you subtract those powers and you're just left with x. In other words, you are left with, so 3 times x, the last simplified version of this is just 3x. So you don't have to do anything. That means that 3x means the same thing as this. This big, long, ugly looking problem or expression is actually just 3x. So I'm telling you, math is not too bad once you can understand that it's just another language, okay? And it will take time for you to learn it. But once you start to see these things, the other thing to note is look at how I broke this down into smaller steps. If you're having problems or if you're getting stressed out with this math, you really just want to calm down first off and break things down into small pieces. As soon as I wrote this part here, I totally I forgot about it. I knew I had to go back and do something, but like I only focus on one piece at a time, and if you do that, algebra becomes a lot easier. So I strongly suggest that you only do that. Like my friend said, you can only eat an elephant a bite at a time. You can only eat an elephant a bite at a time. Which is weird. I don't want to eat an elephant. They're nice creatures, but it will stick in your head. Okay? When you get stressed out, think of that. I mean, it's weird, but go for it. Either way, I hope this video helped you out. If it did, make sure you hit the like button. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. And I'll catch you guys on the next video. Thank you very much.